We're in the meeting thing. Sorry. Oh, so bad. So bad. Should we call to order? Madam Clerk, are we ready?
Mayor,
All right, let's go ahead and call to order the joint workshop between the Seminole Improvement District and the City of Westlake at 4:08 PM. I apologize for the 8 minutes that I made everybody wait. Let's do roll call, please.
for City Council, Councilman Werner. Councilman Martinez.
Present.
Councilwoman Leonard is delayed. Vice Mayor Langowski is listening online.
Yes.
Mayor O'Connor.
Present.
Seminole Improvement District, Supervisor Gevers will be absent. Supervisor Baird.
Here.
Supervisor Massey.
Present.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
You. Please stand and join me for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we have presentation, Seminole Improvement District and the City of Westlake's interlocal agreement, the working relationship and the areas of responsibility and jurisdiction. Is that from staff?
That's Seth. Yes, Mr. Mayor and Board of Supervisors. Part of tonight's discussion is the workshop and joint meeting is we're to have one, at least one a year, sometimes two a year. Part of tonight's presentation is again to reiterate the working relationship between SID and city, their areas of responsibility, and then go from there as what we're looking at in far as the current projections for the park improvements and future layouts of what the park may be based upon prior discussions from last year and what we may be going forward with and where we are to date. So Seth.
Thank you, Ken. Seth Bain, I'm the General Counsel for the Seminole Improvement District and winner of the first annual Westlake 5K.
You're not going to let us forget it, are you?
Well done.
Part of the city's history, so surprisingly. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Because this workshop's a little different than what both boards are typically used to, we like to start off with a little presentation as to what the relationship is, what the Seminole Improvement District's role is in the city, both for the board members and members of the community that are here today, so that there's just a little framework for the discussion today. So I'll try to be relatively quick. Is there a little button?
It's on.
So like come on. I think it's gonna be the old Ted Nod fish.
It's just a lady, you have to point it this way. Maybe my candy.
That's one.
Absolutely.
I have perfect. Yeah, so from the top, begin with what is SID? So SID is the Seminole Improvement District. We are an independent special district governmental entity formed in 1970, originally as the Seminole Water Control District, subject to our own Enabling Act, which is similar to your city charter that created the district and provides our general powers. We later amended the name to the Seminole Improvement District because over time, our role and responsibilities expanded beyond the initial mere stormwater to include wastewater, potable water, reclaimed, stormwater drainage, irrigation, roadways, parking facilities, and parks and recreation. And we do that through our water control plan, which sort of serves as our code and guide going forward. How are we governed? As I said, we're an independent governmental body, so we have a separate elected board of 3 board members that are voted on by the 1 acre, 1 vote method. for all landowners that live within the district. So that, obviously, when drainage district starts out, many of them are, as we were originally, providing agricultural uses that were no residents within the district. So drainage districts are, and most special districts are generally voted on a 1 acre, one vote method. We are guided by a couple different statutes, chapter 189, which regulates all special districts in some form, 298, which is specific to our drainage powers. We have a district manager and a district engineer that have responsibility to it. What is the relationship between SID and Westlake? The easiest answer to that is we're cooperative, we're not duplicative. And this is laid out both in the city's charter and code, as well as the interlocal agreement that I'll talk about a little bit in a minute. That non-duplication of service is important for a couple of reasons. One, it's because we want to be fiscally responsible. Of course, both governmental entities have a role to make sure that they're fiscally responsible and we're not both doing the same thing and charging the residents to do the same thing. So that non-duplication service is there. And then secondly, no one can serve two masters, right? There are decisions that need to be made by both governmental entities. So it's important that there's clarity on who's making those decisions and why, and how that role plays out. And that is clear both in the city's charter, our governing documents, and the interlocal agreement to which the two governments are both beholden to. And that also includes non-duplication of regulatory programs. There are a number of environmental and drainage and environmental permits that SID is the holder of. We are the responsible entity for those. Our engineer is the responsible entity for overseeing those. So again, SID is responsible for those elements that go to state permitting requirements. What's the city's responsibility? The city is vested with what's called police powers. Those are powers that we as a special district could not hold. Those are subject to only counties and municipalities hold police powers. These are the things that the board will certainly be familiar with, and some of the residents may be as well. Platting, zoning, and land use restrictions, those are the purview of the city. Those we do not have responsibility for. We are, all of those other things I mentioned, the service provisions, the utilities, those are ours. Deciding how the zoning and land use is provided for is the city's responsibility. Law enforcement and fire also come through solely through the city. We don't have responsibility for those. Even though we own the roads and take care of their construction and maintenance, traffic control, the layout of those roads, those sorts of things are part of the police power that is the responsibility of the city and the city's engineer. What the Westlake does have the opportunity to do, and what tonight's meeting is about, and is generally about, is that there is discussion in the interlocal and responsibility of the city to coordinate with the SID, so that we have the responsibility to make sure that you're aware of what we're doing and how it impacts the city, and vice versa, getting some guidance and some understanding on it. And that's part of what we're here to do today, what we're required to do. And that requirement comes from what's called the SID and Westlake interlocal. That is a binding contract between the two entities, doing a couple of things, making sure that those requirements of both entities are clear, knowing who's on first when it comes to various matters, and making sure that when there's areas that one of the entities doesn't have jurisdiction, that they're not interfering with the operations of the other governmental entity. And so that's how the general works out. So as I said, we have a water control plan. That water control plan is basically our constitution. Everything we do has to follow through that document. So this is it right here. It looks like this. It's largely an engineering document because most of what we're doing is providing those utility services. We review it, and as the city has evolved, as the layout of the developments is approved and changed, we make modifications to this to be consistent and updated, but it provides the essential backbone of a utility system, what it's capable of providing, what its ultimate capacities are, making sure that the infrastructure is going to be there for the city as the city moves forward. So we work together in lockstep as the city grows and develops. So how we do that is through a series of maps. You'll see in this map, the portion right in the middle where the development of the city has occurred, the lots are laid out. That part is exactly true to what we've got today. And then there's parts of this that are still open fields or are under development where it doesn't exactly track. because this was the initial master plan, but as the city goes through its approval process, dials in exactly how those individual developments are going to work, we fold that into it as it comes, but the backbone system remains effectively the same. Maybe the roads have shifted slightly, the location of the water mains, et cetera. So we do that through a series of maps that look like this. This is the master water distribution, the wastewater plan, how that's going to be collected and distributed and handled. This is the reuse water, the road system, and what sorts of roads are going to be in the city. That backbone was established at the outset, knowing what the ultimate capacity of the city was going to look like. And the stormwater is the same. We had an initial concept of what the city might be like, and then it's slightly adjusted as it goes. And then finally, I want to touch on how SID projects are funded separate from the city, because just like our governmental entities are the same, are separate, obviously the same. So our revenue and our budget are distinct and separate from the city and how you raise money. Special districts operate through a system of assessments. Those assessments are based on the value that is being gained by the homeowners. We can never charge more than the value that a homeowner gets via the water, the stormwater, et cetera. So there's a general assessment for the operation of the district, and then we can bond the infrastructure through those assessments. Then on top of that, there's of course your water and wastewater fees that you pay on a monthly basis. That again is revenue that SID generates to offset its costs, whatever. So funded independently from the city, no Westlake contribution to the SID budget. So that's generally how the system works. As Ken mentioned, the interlocal agreement requires us to meet together to coordinate it, to talk about some of the projects we have coming up, and that's what's going to occur after this. I just wanted to set this frame, so I'd be happy to address any questions that anyone might have.
Thank you, Seth. Do we have any questions?
We have a discussion here on that, the discussion on the parks.
Right, so anything specific to the interlocal, not about the park?
Right.
Anyone?
No, sir.
All set? Anything from the SID side? Questions for your own guy?
I just have one. Just to confirm, the roads that are part of SIDS are the backbone roads, not the roads within the individual communities, correct?
Yeah, that's an important point. Our ownership stops at the sort of entry gates into the individual communities. At that point, they're typically the roads themselves owned by the HOA. And so they have the maintenance responsibility, et cetera. Usually once you're inside the gate, we typically have easements along those roads, both for access to our facilities and then for the water and sewer lines that run adjacent to them. So we help design the sort of cross section of those roads just to make sure that we have the utilities we need when we review the plats. Plats are a function of the city. They do the technical review of that. We review them to make sure that we have the easements necessary to water services. And the lakes themselves, SID in fact does own. So because we are the operator owner of the entire stormwater system, we typically control and own the lakes within the developments. And then so we need to make sure we have access to those lakes as well. So when it comes to the plat side, that's our coordination owner.
And the lift station facilities within the communities are built by the developer and then turned over to SID, correct?
Correct. The wastewater, typically the water and super lines are owned by SID up to the point of connected to the property owner's meter or whatever, and they're private on the other side of that. For the commercial developments, that's slightly different. On the commercial developments, they typically own their internal systems on the commercial side. But so yes, the lift stations are owned and operated by SID, usually held either on a parcel that we own or have an easement over.
Thank you. I don't have anything other.
Is it worth mentioning whether fishing is allowed in the lakes?
I was just about to go into that. So that being said, thank you for actually bringing that up. I'm glad you did. I was going to do the same. Fishing, according to SID, I'm going to throw a wrench in this whole situation, is not allowed because the lakes are not for recreational purposes. They're for stormwater management purposes only. This being a joint workshop and, pretty much an avenue or a method for the city and SID to work together. I was actually going to call you if I didn't, so I wasn't blindsiding you with this. But what I'm hoping we could accomplish today at least pave the way is, I can understand why some people don't want fishing going on in their backyards because, you catch a fish and now you're behind the next door neighbor's house and the next door neighbor's house, and you're no longer behind your own house anymore. You're in other people's property. But we have a handful of lakes, one being the one along the fitness park, right? That wouldn't necessarily impact any homes, as well as perhaps some of the lakes in our future city park. So being that we have our city attorney here and Sid's city attorney here, if it's amenable to the Sid board, I would love to try to find a way to perhaps designate one of the lakes or a couple of the lakes as fishing friendly. I don't know how we do that legally, make it a fishing district, I don't know what we can do, but it would be a huge value add to our constituents. We have gotten extreme interest in the desire to be able to fish in certain areas of our city. And I was thinking even we could go as far as like right by the sales center, how you have that nice little boardwalk type looking thing with the wooden rails with the wire, maybe do that along one of the lakes. And I could just picture a bunch of kids fishing along that. And if there's a way that somehow we can work together, try to make a couple of the lakes fishing friendly where it's not going to impact people's homes. Make a nice, safe area for people to, practice this hobby that people
So
love.
personally, I think it'd be great if people fish any lake they want to go to. I mean, because we all grew up doing so. But in the world of insurances, and especially where 298 works, is you vote acres. So everyone doesn't have an even split. So if we get sued for $300,000, you get a little piece, but there's one or two large property owners that get hit big
Okay.
if something were to happen. Now, we have a $3 million max, right? Is that correct? I think something like that. But that being said, Seth has been working on what we can do to enforce, because what we've been having here lately is all your documents say you're not supposed to be on lake banks. I mean, it says it clearly for everyone. People go in there and say, well, we own here and we want to be able to fish here. I got it. But the lake banks weren't set up for fishing and recreation.
Understood.
They were set up for water storage and movement. That would have to be a bigger discussion if you were to have some quote designated areas.
That's what I'm talking about. Maybe there's a way to split the baby here.
Maybe.
And we can designate some fishing friendly areas and actually make it safe.
But then we'd have to really double down on ensuring we don't go in these neighborhoods. Because
Correct.
what we're having is people getting really upset with people fishing right against their fence line.
Understandably.
And I don't blame them.
And we could, so we prohibit, clear as day, no fishing in any of the residential lakes. But there's a couple lakes that don't impact homes.
But then at some point, it will. Even down here, we don't know what's gonna go, so there'll be homes even down around, well, behind the path. So,
Well, what about the park?
well,
There's a couple lakes in the park,
Yeah, I can see where that could be. That could be
right?
something.
I'm just
I
saying,
understand what you're saying,
let's talk about it and
but we're
try
having,
to find a solution.
we have a little bit of an issue with people thinking that all the waters are open. And we find them on the west side where it's steep banks,
Right.
people can get hurt easily. And they're like, well, we live here. Well, you may live here, but you're still trespassing on something. And you feel kind of like a heel telling someone that, but that's the reality, is you're trespassing. And, but yes, I think it's worth a discussion. If we could designate a spot or two, we'd have to have some discussion with Sid about it.
Make it safe and,
Yeah, I don't know how you
Maybe
can make it much safer than just what the lake bank is, you know what I'm saying?
well, you can, because there's a lake bank right next to the sales center. It's a big, beautiful lake bank.
Well, that's a private lake too. That lake, that particular lake there belongs. to-
Right, but I'm saying let's implement something along those lines with the fenced in area. Well, not fenced in, but you know what I'm saying, like the little
You're talking about where the wood is and it's in the
wood
forest.
is, and it's got, it's like a waist high, almost
Look up here.
pier
Yeah.
type situation with the wire. It's really elegant, but if we did something like that in a certain area where you're not coming down to the actual bank, you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. I know that is not obviously that's a lot of added cost to the park.
Right,
It may
and we can
require-
explore that as well.
May require pulling from other places to make that happen, but, you know, a discussion.
You think that's an added cost? Wait till you get to my next idea.
I just,
I'm just saying that let's talk about it. Let's try to find a solution where we're not just crushing the hopes and dreams of these children. Instead, we're going to give them a nice, safe area to be able to practice their hobby. And it's like another passive thing that we're offering.
Learn to fly fish in my backyard, grass,
You know,
We can't do that here.
we're giving them another.
Oh, in your yard, okay.
Kind of recreational activity.
I think it's absolutely something we can look at and
Think
discuss.
about.
As far as the cost of building a seawall or something like that for the aesthetics, I think that might be, I think you'd probably be better off to say this is a lake bank and you can walk down to the edge of the lake bank and fish under, with some kind of.
However you want to figure it out, but I think the juice is worth the squeeze. I think we need to.
We just have to see how
Something.
the ownership, that's the.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as the mayor, and we have a lot of building we're still going to do. If we can plan now and designate it, we know that we'll build it for that purpose. Versus now we're looking back at, oh, these banks aren't safe. We know we want to build them safely. Let's put that in our plan.
Well, okay, it's something that can be discussed. It's a big deal. We're not talking about throwing another $30,000-$40,000 or something. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars to implement a seawall and a walkway and all. So, we've been kind of.
But you're also just saying it was the design of the bank because of the slope of the bank?
Yeah.
So if we did a longer slope bank,
They're already done.
The lakes are there.
Our lakes are-
I went and took pictures. I
So
bring them.
it can be fished. People can walk down and fish, but there's some liability associated with walking down to the water. So,
Right, so we try to find a happy medium, whether
Yeah.
it's mitigating the liability by putting some, safer barrier, or maybe just one little area. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just thoughts.
we'll get with Seth was looking at some stuff. We can circle back around on it because there's, currently everything was designed for capturing water, holding water and moving water. That was the whole
Get it.
purpose. At some point, when the city gets closer to being built out, then it would be an easy transition to allow fishing. It would be different the way Seminole's held. So, currently you have a couple of large landowners that are the ones that are going to be accepting the bulk of the responsibility or liability if something happens. And so in every 298 I've been associated with, that's generally it's pretty taboo to allow that. But I think it's worth it. It's worth talking. It's worth it. Yeah.
Thinking about.
I thought about trying to leave the one lake that we had at the park before we filled it in, to have that for a fishing lake.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the one that's in the back.
We're on the
filled
same
in.
page. We're already halfway there.
Oh, no, I'd like to have it. And once that becomes, the park, then I think that would be a great place to maybe have it.
Okay.
And those lake banks aren't that bad. It's just that.
No. And, homes won't be impacted and nobody will end up in somebody else's backyard.
I think it's something that's a matter of understanding liability.
I get it.
The repercussions behind allowing it and go from there.
Fair enough. That's all I ask.
We're
Is
definitely not.
it be considered?
Yeah, we're definitely not anti. I mean, we'd love to have it. We grew up fishing all these areas and all, but, there's a reason we can't. He's definitely the biggest reason down there.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Yes,
Okay,
we'll
good.
put it into our
Good.
thinking and see if we can't figure out something.
Excellent.
All right, worth the talk.
Worth the talk. All right, I guess let's move on to, if there's nothing else,
You had another one, the big money issue.
that part of the park.
Okay,
Invite the park.
Now we're going to speak
Yes.
about the park.
okay.
Park update and future development and current and future development. Do we have a presentation?
No, we have some slides. And Ryan, would you discuss where we are so far on the dates? What you have in your package is the first part is the Seminole Improvement Park Parcel C4 drainage modifications. This is utilizing the ARPA money that the city moved over to SID, the 725,000 or whatever it is. Plus SID is contributing under this year's budget about $150,000. Plus we're budgeting it, SID is budgeting into the next year's budget almost $400,000 to get this to where there'll be a mass grading and drainage so that the parks will be dry, the area will be dry, grassed field, not like a play field or anything, but just a massed open area, which then can be utilized and will drain better than the place where we'd normally have the Fourth Fest, et cetera. And we would relocate Fourth Fest down to there for better access and better drainage. But Ryan, if you can go ahead and explain what you got here.
For the record, Ryan Wheeler, District Engineer for Seminole Improvement District. Just to kind of piggyback off of what Ken was saying is basically, we've had these previous meetings and the kind of joint meetings to kind of discuss what the vision or the overall kind of feel and vision that we want to have for this future park. So with that, with using the ARPA funds, we started setting up and getting some of the infrastructure in to allow us to basically get the park site basically development ready. So with that being said, we kind of spaced out and did the excavation of proposed lakes along with drainage runs, outfalls and stuff by placing those with the kind of concept plans that, have been kind of put together and gathered over all those previous meetings. So as Ken was saying, we went through and we got these improvements permitted with South Florida Water Management District. So really what the next steps are is the contractors are going to be, kind of mobilizing here probably in the next couple of weeks to just get the drainage infrastructure and just kind of that rough grading, for that park site. And then that basically then is set up and gives us that flexibility for, potential changes, potential, phasing of what is looking to be done for the park site. So those are kind of those plans that you have in front of you, and you can kind of see ghosted out the concept plan that was, sort of agreed upon as the, what the desire was for, from the board, from both boards, actually.
Do we have all the slides?
I believe
Yes.
so.
Because what I would like to do is run through them, just so that when the public wants to look at this workshop later, they can see them.
Sure. So what you're all seeing here is basically kind of that north half of the park site there.
That's your
And
first page after the cover.
so, I know it seems a little busy, and that's more for the grading contractor to be able to go out and grade the site. So those kind of real faint lines that you see kind of running through the site are basically the grading contours that the contractor will follow. But if you see kind of running along the north side there, out to the M Canal over to the west there's a, drainage run that's basically kind of on the north side of the kind of first row of potential, multi-purpose fields. Then, a little bit further to the south is another run there. So we're basically, setting up the grading and the drainage so that those multi-purpose fields, are able to be graded and then kind of set at the time when it's desired what they actually want to be used for. They're pretty much kind of ready, set to kind of, move forward to that next, that next phase. And this is just kind of a continuation just on the south side. So
Is that the water, sorry to interrupt, is that the water tower in the bottom left?
that's correct. Yeah. So that's the reclaim tank that site that recently, finished here a couple months ago. What that was a expansion of our reuse tank to expand our reclaim storage capacity. And then we also, we took into account the, future parking, future fields, future flexibility, and basically did our grading and all the drainage design based on that, so that it's kind of a clean slate, gives us that flexibility to either construct what, that initial concept was, or, have that flexibility to kind of change, move and stuff around. So that's kind of in a nutshell of what, these are just kind of our standard details that we have, but, just kind of in a nutshell, this is what the plan that's going to be being implemented here, since we got our South Florida water management permit, probably in the next couple of weeks here.
So we were hoping to get mobilized by now, but we had to change around where that existing lake was, was arranged for the county.
Right?
So we finally got that permit approved, and so they're basically mobilizing now.
Yeah, I think they've already actually kind of been bringing out some equipment, so.
Are you showing some buildings with restrooms on any of this?
No, so that, I mean, we have the, kind of that concept plan, you can kind of see it kind of ghosted out along the sides, but none of those improvements are going to be done. This is strictly just more on the earthwork and the grading and the drainage side, but it also just kind of shows how it fits in what that concept plan was at that time.
That's a lot of parking. How many spaces will that form?
I don't recall offhand, but yeah,
30,
it was significant.
230, almost 300 parking spaces.
You may not be aware, Gary, there's also a mobility aspect to the park. There's going to be a parking ride
Okay.
aspect.
Is the parking area asphalt or will it be grass or what?
We're what we designed off of, what we did our drainage and stuff off of was going to be asphalt, but what you see in a lot of these kind of park scenarios is, the main drive typically will be asphalt, but sometimes they have like stabilized grass parking and stuff like that to kind of cut down on some of the impervious area.
Allow some percolation.
Exactly.
Actually, the thought of it would be for normal functions, not massive amounts of people, but normal functions. As you come in the two entrances into the park, we would have a drive between the two, and we would have parking accordingly, like Ken said, almost 300
Yeah.
parking spots for normal type functions. If the kids are coming to the top lot, you have something happening at the hardscapes. And then for large events, we have it designed so you come in the south entrance, and this whole south side of the park, we're leaving so that it can be lined out for parking like we did over here.
So like for Fourth Fest, open field
I
parking.
was just going to ask that because we were talking about shifting the Fourth Fest from the town center site
Yes.
to this. Where would that occur on?
So when you're looking at this plan right here, you see where this entrance is
Yeah.
into okay, if you were to come straight in around that roundabout, go straight in, and this would all be set up. That's what that is.
Okay,
That's all set up for parking.
right.
So that would be, we would line it out and have
Okay, so
it.
these are not necessarily concrete plans.
No.
Okay,
When Don Herring's lady had put that together, she just kind of divided out, trying to figure out numbers
so
of
you're
spots.
sketching it out.
Yeah, that's all that was.
Okay.
And so the fields would be to the north of that.
And another thing I wanted to kind of just point out is you can kind of see some contours along the far west side, kind of in the middle here, what we have shown on the screen towards the bottom of the screen. That's, kind of be burned up so that potential that you can, we can do a stage or there's something that can be done there, in there. So it's going to be, kind of a raised area that's going to be burned up to give that flexibility, and there's still kind of there. So
You like an amphitheater?
Yes.
yeah, or just, something to that effect.
Pardon me, City Council, Board of Supervisors, we do have a comment from Vice Mayor Langowski.
I'll recognize Vice Mayor. Go ahead. Greg. Vice Mayor Langowski.
I just wanted to bring up, I'm looking at a large plat. It'd be helpful for the council and everybody there to see the last slide because that's the entirety of the park.
Yeah, the very last, that one.
You can see the amphitheater, the park.
That's the last page, the last,
That one
correct.
right there.
Yeah, so just kind of some clarification to those, that we're a part of this and we're not a part of this. This was kind of during that last joint meeting, I think this was kind of the consensus of the option that looked to be, kind of the best for everybody. So this is what we used kind of as our benchmark to set, do our grading and do our drainage.
There's lots of flexibility still.
Exactly.
Right? None of this is set in stone.
No, exactly.
Which is the prospective fishing lake?
So
It would be your lower left corner.
actually, it's three pieces across there.
All right.
That would be, it would be a good location.
Okay.
These lakes are there. You can go look at them.
Right.
They exist.
What kind of fish are in there?
Typically, there's a lot, unfortunately, there's a lot of basically a lot of tilapia in here, but we have a lot of bass, largemouth bass.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a lot of bass.
How about alligators?
Plenty.
Plenty of
Okay,
alligators.
that's part of the safety issue.
Well, it just keeps, people out of the water.
Okay.
Well, you know, so the alligators are a big issue. That's another reason we want people just around because we've had to help the environment here. When they were here way before we were, if you take an alligator out off this site and move him, if you don't move him long ways, he'll be right back.
Really?
And so unfortunately, the reason I don't like taking them out unless they're a true threat
That's their nuisance.
is because they have to kill them. And it's an issue to me to have to kill one. I mean, if they're up on the bank and they're sitting on the bank and our guys pull up to them and they sit there and look at you, we'll get out because he's just been fed or something. He's made too comfortable. But most all the time, an alligator, he's got to get out of the water. People say, well, he's on the land. Well, they have to get out of the water every now and then. But if you go towards them or they typically should go off in the water. They don't want to be around you normally. So we've caught in the last month, he's probably pulled pushing 20 out of here that they felt could or could not be a potential problem. And some of them just because the people were so adamant about, oh my goodness, my dog's but you're not supposed to be on the lake bank. You're not supposed to have your dogs on the lake bank. And when the little old dog goes down and starts barking, it's it's a bad situation. God, we don't want anyone's animal to get eaten. That'd be horrible. But it's like a call for an alligator when they hear a voice like that. But anyhow, if that's what we designate as that, we'd have the guys just ride through every couple of days. But you got to remember, every lake in here, every body of water is interconnected by at least the smallest is 48. Most everything's 72-inch culverts. So this water can move freely across the entire facility. So you may see one over here today, and 2 hours later you don't see him. He's in the next lake. He just swims right on through.
So
I know you don't control the canal, the D canal.
Which one?
Is the canal next to 60th Street?
Oh,
Is fishing allowed there?
no, that's actually drinking water quality. It's owned by the city of West Palm Beach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the M Canal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
M canal.
Yes, sir. And that's where we purchase the pump water from them into our facility,
I see.
and then we gravity drain to the south. But the reason we have so many lakes and we're so interconnected is to be able to handle a large storm event. And the nice thing about this versus say Avenir has to pump all the water out of their location. They can't pull a plug and let it drain. We have we're natural. We don't have to pump out. You have to plant it, and you have to drain, and you have to stake.
Yeah.
But we're in a good location for that.
You guys do an incredible job of that.
So
Just saying.
And I'll be happy to come up and answer more questions, but I figure I'll leave it to you because I'm sure you have some stuff we can discuss.
No, I mean, just in general design of the park. And I want my colleagues here to bear with me because this is going to sound a little loony, but I promise you it's not. There's a mobility aspect baked in to the park plan in our park and ride that already exists. We bill ourselves as the innovative city of Westlake. Right on the back of our business cards, it says innovative government. I'm gonna land the plane, I promise. We'll get there, okay? So as it sits right now, Tomahawk is landing in our fields, right? Which won't be a field, it'll be a town center at some point. They're landing anywhere they can. I think there's an opportunity with the county. Well, it's actually the healthcare district is who owns and operates the Tomahawk through the fire department and the county. I think there's probably an opportunity if we could designate within our city park someplace an LZ for Tomahawk. We can get some dollars there in order to help pay for it, whether through the healthcare district in combination with the county. And again, we're going to get there, I promise. So that's one opportunity, right? That being said,
You talk about a helipad?
correct, to land Tomahawk. That being said, I sit on the transportation committee for the Florida League of Cities, along with the transportation technical advisory committee for the county itself. And everybody should Google the term vertiport, because a vertiport It's basically a little bit larger than a helipad, slightly larger, and it has a class 2 electrical charger. This is going to be the future of mobility, and it's not that far into the future. It's within the next 10 years. But what you're going to see, they've already approved one at the Palm Beach County Airport, right? It's going in. What you're going to see are these fully electric vertical takeoff transportation vehicles, and they're being tested all through Europe. This is a thing. I'm not making this up. It's not the Jetsons. This is happening.
But it's close.
happening relatively soon. Lake Nona is building a vertiport. It's almost built right now. There's one going in next to the Brightline station in Orlando. Like, these are things that are happening. We have a rare opportunity to be truly innovative here and potentially bake that into our city someplace.
Was it a charging station for a flying vehicle?
It's more a designated area for the flying vehicle to land and take off. But yes, there's a charging element to it. These things, there's several companies that are happening. Look up Lilium Jet, Lilium. They're already operating in Florida. These vertiports is the name of the landing device.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying is we could future-proof ourselves here. One, give an opportunity of the healthcare district to land the Trauma Hawk someplace safely, not temporarily, but just in general. Maybe bake in the conduit or whatever needs to be there for the future.
Mm-hmm.
If we can have a class 2 charger there. But really, truly be an innovative city. Part of our biggest problem that we have out here in the Western communities is getting around.
No, I mean, it's a very innovative idea. Can we put one on top of the reservoirs?
I don't think so, but
Why
I
not?
don't know.
You can build a structure above it?
I have no idea. That part I don't know.
Money? You can do it.
Right.
I don't know. I think it's worth
I like the idea.
thinking and educating ourselves on vertiports. For those of you who are not, part of our, every year we set out priorities for that committee that I sit on. That was our second priority. Tallahassee's already looking at legislation for cities who want to put these transportation forms in. I mean, this is happening, and it's happening now. Again, we have a rare opportunity to be ahead of the curve. I think it's worth considering maybe integrating some aspect or future-proofing ourselves to be able to allow for one in the short term. And I'll go after the healthcare district. I'll bring them to the table. I'll talk to the county. I'll do that legwork. If this group of wonderful leaders are amenable to at least the idea.
Yeah, I was under the impression most of the ones I've studied were less than most of them, 2 or less, 1 to 2 people. And a larger one was like 4.
There are around 6 passengers.
Okay, that's
Passenger. And again, you're going to think I'm crazy. They're piloted now, but eventually the goal is for them to be fully autonomous.
Sure.
And again, this is one of those things, like we say that we
No, I got it.
have this rare opportunity. We're building a city from the ground up.
So is this like an Uber service?
Basically,
Call
yeah.
and they come pick you
The
up?
way it was pitched is like here to Miami in less than an hour for like $60 a person. It's like nuts,
Yeah.
but quick.
Right.
And fully electric, quiet.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
We could
would
somehow-
lease it out to one of these companies?
I don't know how. I think the plan right now is to just get the infrastructure in place
I agree with that.
so that we,
It doesn't take a lot for the infrastructure. You're
No,
talking about power to
Mainly the
yeah,
conduit.
you're talking about power, make sure the power's able to be there. I'm saying let's future-proof ourselves, get the power there. But I love the idea of in the interim, something that could be used right now is a safe place for Trauma Hawk to land
Sure.
that we don't have.
Well, we do. And I tell you, the Trauma Hawk, what I like about it is that we land them over here on the west side. They come in there, they block it off. They want to get that helicopter so they don't have to move that person that's in critical situation any further. So I would personally not want to say, if you want to land the city, you have to land down here. I'd rather shut off Seminole Pratt and then land the helicopter safely and load the people and get them out of here. We land them in the field. We landed them in the hospital field. We land them over here on the west side. So,
All that stuff's not gonna exist eventually,
well, sure, it will. So the roads will always be here.
with the fields will.
Absolutely. But we'll have a field down there. But I'm saying, I let it migrate. They don't need a hell of, they don't need a great big concrete location for that. I understand what you're saying. If it brings dollars to it and we can
Yeah,
incorporate.
making a way to pay for it.
I don't think they would pay to bring in power for something they want to land their helicopter, maybe, but.
No, but that's the small aspect of it, you know, the concrete of it.
But as far as the electric devices, I think that's a neat idea. We'll have baked in parking already at the park. We already set up for the parking, right? And you're talking about the footprint of something that wouldn't exceed this room.
Correct.
So, from that standpoint, that could be easily accommodated.
Great.
And we're gonna have the power, we'll have sufficient power.
So, I mean, I know we're very, very, very early on in the actual design phase, but I just wanted to talk about it now and get it in everybody's ears so they can start researching.
I tend to agree with you there, JP. I mean, if it's something that's innovative in the future, then let's look into it.
Yeah,
If
I mean-
it's something that can be brought in.
Do we have any specifications on sizes
Yeah,
or flight
that-
patterns and stuff
That
like
is
that?
all, not flight patterns, but the actual vertiport specifications are already set.
If you can get that over, then I'll get it to Don Herring, and we'll also look at the potential Tomahawk, what they need as far as a flight path in, flight path out, stuff like that, because that would determine where potentially either one of those would go within the park structure.
So Tomahawk usually,
Tesla type charging base,
Pretty much, it's a class 2 charger. It's not, it's that type of a
it's just
charger.
that rapid charge.
Yeah,
Tomahawk is usually about 120 by 120. And the flight path is dependent on the wind direction. So they like to land into the wind.
That would be my
Correct.
question.
Understand that, but I'm thinking structures around it and stuff like that.
I'm using the Tomahawk as
Wind
a
dependent.
a tooth.
So
You know, like, I'm getting to my real idea by that platform, you know?
Yeah.
Now, the electric, the small ones we're talking about, they're not as wind sensitive as the aircraft. They don't they're not flying in, they're more helicopter like, correct?
They're
The
more,
which
they're
ones?
basically like passenger drones.
Right. That's what I mean. So
Yeah,
they
they're-
don't care.
they're
They don't
less-
have
So they're
to-
vertical.
Yeah.
Correct, vertical
Doesn't
takeoff,
matter if it
vertical
went north
landing.
or south, east or west, I don't think.
Right.
And I mean, I challenge everybody to go home and start digging in and start researching it. These things are being implemented and being tested and it's gonna be here way before we realize it. And it'd be really, really nice to see the city of Westlake be the, you know, the gateway in the western communities. Or have the first
Thing in your backyard.
Fine.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they designed them for. Small.
These are gonna be, I mean, at least in the,
This is the big one. you're talking
right, in the,
I'll have to do some
in the beginning, from what I understand, it's gonna be a mobility. It's gonna be a way to get people from point A to point B, get cars off the road. You know, you wanna go watch a Panthers game or something and, you know, get there in 30 minutes. And that's one of our biggest challenges out here, is getting places. So if we can bill ourselves as, and we do bill ourselves as the innovative city of Westlake, building a city from the ground up, these are the kinds of things that we need to be ahead of the curve of.
on the transportation board, do you speak with the healthcare district?
I speak through them through other avenues, but not on,
They're not directly involved in
not
that.
on that particular committee.
I mean, I would like to know if they would be putting in money, like you said.
Well,
I think that's a
I mean,
big part.
I wasn't gonna go approaching them until we had a conversation and we only get to talk at these public meetings.
Mhm.
So if everybody is as amenable to the idea as I am, I'd like to go to work.
about. If there's real interest there, we can always look at it. Sure.
Go to work,
Great.
even unanimity here.
There. Cool.
Right?
Yeah, I just need to do some research on the vertiport
Yeah,
itself
let's do it.
before I can just, say yes or no to it. I know nothing about it.
I don't think we're not talking about, like an airport or anything. I mean, it'd be a small area. I mean, it's something that I can wrap my head around.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be millions of dollars. It's not, so I think if it makes sense to everyone and everybody agrees with it, it's worth looking at more.
Great. That's all I ask.
Well, speaking of power, are you anticipating lighting and doing the conduit for lighting in this whole park situation?
So
We did
we've had,
discuss that.
Eventually.
we've had a lot of discussion about it. The park initially would be dusk dawn. That would be, we'd have lighting around the parking area up front and coming in. One proposal was lighting across the fields. The only problem, as soon as we start putting hard fixtures out, we lose our flexibility. And back, when we start talking about, these fields are all going away, that's going to be the last place around here. It's going to be one large open canvas to hold huge concerts, to hold anything, our 4th of July. So as soon as we start putting things hard and non-movable in, I think it crowds it. But we were going to have some lighting to accommodate things.
Well, the main thing was whether there'll be some conduit in here to accommodate future lighting, even if it's on a temporary basis, or as
In the
we were
phase,
just talking with the vertiports.
into phase one,
Yeah,
when we bring in power, we're going to bring in power into the loop. We'll have power for the restroom, but yeah, we'll have
okay,
power
all
there.
right,
So it'll get into the site after
Okay.
that. As far as back through the field, no, but I think if we do the vertiport, it would be on the peripheral.
yeah, okay.
And if we do pickleball, I think it'd be worth putting in some lighting, some conduit at least.
Well, so just say. There'd be
There'll be some conduit.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
I was talking about the big field, the big.
Yeah, no, the flexibility is good too.
Flexibility is important. Buzzwords to write down and to Google and to learn. Besides vertiports is EVTOL, electric vehicle takeoff
Landing.
and landing. That's what these things are classified as, EVTOL. So when everybody goes and does some research, they can start learning how cool and amazing the future is going to be. Cool. What else we got?
Just as a follow-up, as you look at your page there, concept 1.2B, phase 1, which is in the darkened lines, which would include the 2 entrances, the food truck area, the 2 roundabouts, the parking to the south, the courts, the tot lots, 1 bathroom, in that area there. The engineer's estimate cost for development of that is about $12.9 million.
That's where the 30%.
Just 13?
That's with a 30% contingency built in. The lighting on that, lighting allowance is about 2.5 million to bring in the electric and do the lighting for those in phase 1.
That's included?
But that again gives you kind of an idea as you're
Right.
talking to other entities and agencies and as we're looking for grants. That's what we're looking at for phase 1.
Have any success of it, the legislative things?
We had some good success in avenues. Greg also, who's on the line, we had good success in where to go look for the money. Besides just, from our legislators. So there's definitely different things that we need to look at. There's some special needs grants where we incorporate a special needs aspect to the park, which is very important anyways. There's definitely money out there, ways to find it, including electric vehicle money, massive, massive money. So if we add that element in, that expands the whole area of where we can pull money from, because there's big, big money out there for that. Big. It's about writing the grant, painting the picture of how we're going to spend the dollars.
Where are we in submitting a request for appropriation from the state?
We have not submitted anything at this point in time.
Because I was told that we would want to get it in before October.
We will look at it.
Very important, and I'm hearing this from constituents constantly, is shade at the playground areas and at the park. Let's make sure
When those get built, they're
when
gonna
the time
have.
comes,
Yeah.
we definitely add a shaded area
Yeah.
for the moms to be.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure when we did the tot lot, we said it's going to be covered to provide the
I
shade.
just wanted to reiterate
Have a
that.
few of those canvas areas around also, in addition to that, those.
Shade sails.
Just,
Mhm.
and plus some permanent areas scattered around.
Great.
If everything goes to plan, they're starting to mobilize, as Ryan said. Should be September 30th, by the end of September, we should have finished the runs. Would you say, Ryan? We should be able to have it all contoured so that when we get a rain, it'll have a place to go and drain out. We're going to seed mulch it. That was the most
Great.
cost-effective way. You know, so if it's into September, it'd probably be a few months. We wouldn't want to let anybody do anything till the grass came up and got established, to where some running around wouldn't wipe it out. And at that point, we're going to see about, doing some additional stabilization when you pull in so that we can have it open for people just to go and use the field, right?
Right.
Be able to pull in and open dusk to dawn type thing.
Great.
Kind of on the same line as what the linear park will be, the exercise path. Probably be a similar schedule to that. What do you think, Ken?
Yeah.
So we are going to have some areas coming pretty quick to give people more areas to get out to and walk around and jog and exercise and play with their dogs and all the above.
Excellent.
But that was that's a pretty big, 1.4, to do this first piece, just get it
Right.
where it's usable for people to run around.
We got close to 800 from the feds already, right?
740 something. And the rest of it came out of Sid's budgets.
Thank you, Sid.
So we're expecting as soon as, when can residents use it?
Probably first of the year, after the first of the year, February 25.
Hopefully we'll have. good
That
standing
would
grass.
make it usable for the following 4th of July as well,
Correct.
correct? So this will be the last Fourth Fest at the Town Center Field.
And Spring Fest.
I had a question. This is great.
That's the question.
Sure, of course.
I know I have no
Scott.
voice today, so I apologize. Is it worth considering an indoor pickleball court? I see this big sign on 95 in Boca, but is it too late or is that worth something considering that this pickleball court be indoor? Especially with the weather we have out west. It's
Everything
raining.
comes down to dollars, so.
I know, I'm just throwing it out if that's something we should consider.
Indoor or covered as a compromise?
You know, to the way we were approaching the park, not saying anything can't be changed, you know, in the future, but as soon as you start having things open at night, it's a whole nother dynamic of employees and people and security and all that. So, you know, for the foreseeable future, we want to have it dusk dawn. So at this point, not saying about having a big open canvas, we have a big open canvas. So our thought would be, let's get some pickleball courts in. That's the first thing. Let's get it to where it's usable. And then we could always look at something that would be closed in. But I just have a little reservation about making something that is one use type facility for something like that. My mind almost says you let the private sector build something like that. You know, we almost had an outfit come, it was called the Adrenaline Center.
Correct.
That was looking at coming. Those were the people that would build something like that, and you could pay to go in and play inside, and they could make it a cost or profit center.
Right.
Whereas for us, it would just be pure cost because we can't really go after the profit.
Or even maybe like you were saying before, the canvas, like the top lot, maybe a canvas on top of it to provide some type of shade.
Sure.
But as long as, like you said, we can build it now, and as long as we can leave the room for the future when we have funds to
Absolutely.
cover it.
I mean, it's gonna be the footprint's the footprint.
Mhm.
So if
Right.
you put a building, I mean, Zane's still building up, you're doing one over here, aren't you?
Mm,
You're not gonna do the one in the Pines, that little park?
that's the future amenity.
Okay,
I don't-
but it's still the same type concept. It's not hard to do.
Right. I mean, a steel building, steel frame around with a roof on it, that could be an add-on in the future that would be,
get it high.
once the money's there to be able to fund it, we could do that pretty simple.
Thank you.
She said, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
this is Greg. I just had a question for Scott. For phase 1, when do you anticipate that being completed?
Actually, to be fair, it's just gonna take the dollars. I mean, so we're looking at, with the contingency, it was 12.983 million. And, we're without raising assessments, without raising taxes, we're having to take little bites. So hopefully, if you're able, with all your connections with the state, that would be a rapid way to move us
Right.
ahead if we can get some funding that way through the state. Seminole just got finished doing a big bonding where we put in our new tank. We have 2 million plus a 500,000 gallon of reclaimed storage. That sounds like a lot, 2.5 million gallons. We're currently using 3.5 a day. With it being dry like this and hot, we're using a lot of water, so we don't have a full day running if something were to happen. And we have that bonding with the lines that we have, the distribution lines we've added to it. We have a line that's going to come from the south up to help us in the future with getting reclaimed water quicker. And then we have the new building being built that's going to house the city pieces and SID. That should be, when, Ryan, do you think we'll be able to get what your gut tell you, building delivered and contractor started?
Building delivered should be delivered by the, by the end of the year, and the contractor starting.
Next July.
And it's a how many month deal? 6, 8?
Probably 6 to 8.
Okay, so
I think to answer his question, right, it's y'all are working on getting the fund.
It's going to come down to money, and how quickly we can get it and where it's coming from.
And bringing those in will help expedite the phase one.
because where I was going is I don't think Sid would be in a position to do any additional bonding at this.
Right.
I mean, we've got quite a bit. We can't put so much on our.
Understood. Yep.
So.
Okay, that was my next question about the bonding.
Say what, Greg?
That was my next question. If we did like a 30-year bond, but you said you're kind of tapped out for right now on the SID side.
Well, I mean, for right now, I mean, that's a pretty big hit for us. And if you go anymore, we've got it budgeted in, you see where our assessments are at, and
Right.
Anything else, it all goes down to the bottom line. Residents don't want to pay the money.
Okay.
But we also, so when Ryan and them did this workup, that phase one is basically the park. That brings power in, that's parking, that's lighting, that's 4 of the fields, I think, the multi-use fields, that's your pickleball courts, that's your top lot. That's a lot of stuff. So if you look at it that way, $13 million is probably still a lot of money. And it's hard to get there, but it's probably not that bad for everything we would get. But in my eyes, I think that we're going to have to work with the city and within ourselves, and each year come up with as much money as we can, and we're going to have to start staging it. We're going to need to stabilize the entrance coming in and make a better entrance and parking. Bring some utilities in with that, and then next year we do a little bit more. But I mean, at this point, unless we have a windfall, unless we're able to secure a large dollar amount, we're going to have to peck at it and just keep going. This is the first phase, getting it towards a usable field.
Right.
And then we just have to build upon that.
Yeah, I think with the added, and like I said, there's different avenues, a way to paint the picture in order to get the appropriations. I think with the mobility aspect of the parking ride, there's opportunities there to grab some money. You throw in this electric aspect, there's opportunities there to grab some money. That's hot right now for the feds. Hot.
And I know Sid has, and I believe the city's done the same, has engaged a grant writer as well to try to help find
Yes.
this money.
So really, we just
PK
need to get to
funding.
work.
And that might help us, Greg. I mean, we haven't heard anything yet, but we do have someone that's supposed to be hunting for these things.
Okay.
I'm sure we're probably the only group that's looking for money right now, so I imagine they're hard to come by, but we're trying.
And the other thing on the grants, a lot of the grants are on a cycle, depending on, some cycle in October, some cycle in January, sometime in May, sometime, so they're on different cycles. So you got to be careful which cycle you hit. Are there any other questions regarding park and stuff, or any other issues between Sid and city?
Guys, listen to everything I wanted to say. We're pretty receptive, so I appreciate that. Do we have any more park questions, answers, current and future development plans? Or anybody want to say anything or discuss anything?
We on the discussion part?
I think we've been on the discussion.
Well, we are on the park part.
I think we're on the discussion now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just navigated right into that.
I don't think we would have a complete meeting without an update on the Persimmon Road issue.
Your Westlake Self Improvement District,
Seth?
the Indian Trails lawsuit.
Ongoing, yet to be determined. That, I'm not part of the litigation team, so I'm a little caught flat-footed here. That, there's been some ongoing ruling, there's procedural issues. There's an appeal that's going to be filed, or has been filed.
I think it has been.
Should an appeal's been filed yet? I'm not sure. So it's, that's indeterminate at this time, but I'd be happy to get a schedule of where we're at and the status update out to the city, from our litigation team for you.
So it's still ongoing.
Litigation pending.
Right.
As of right this moment, it's not going to punch out there the second.
No.
But people will evaluate and think about it. It makes perfect sense for the neighbors and for us.
Right.
Both sides for the neighbors. But that's pending.
That's all I had.
Any more Q&A or general discussion between Sid and the city?
I had some more questions.
Shoot.
One
Okay,
other,
so we're-
uh,
So back to
ahead.
the park, we're looking at 16 pickleball courts. And then 4 tennis courts and then 2 basketball courts and then, let's see.
That was the last rendition that we all sat down and basically had said, let's keep focused on that at this time.
That's perfect. Okay, and then the volleyball courts, was that gonna be sand or was that gonna be asphalt or concrete or anything like that? I think we
They
talked
were-
about sand.
they were going to be sand.
Could be sand.
Perfect.
Be saying.
Okay, I'm good.
Great.
Sorry. The asphalt or the sidewalks throughout the community, some of them are splitting and they're uneven. So as a skater, what is our maintenance of those areas? I always wonder if that is a risk or a fall or trip hazard. So
The
can you
multiple
answer?
impacts.
Yeah, it is, and we're budgeting each year for, especially this year. Ken could answer how many linear feet you had planned, but we have certain areas where it's not holding up very well, and some of it's only 3 years old. And we're starting to have a few little issues, so how much were you planning, Ken? We're putting some in for multimodal.
There's some for multimodal. I think there's 130,000 in Sid's budget for that. And then there's some other in another line item that we can use.
But we had some areas in particular that were extension, Townsend Parkway North Extension, that some areas we have to address.
That's pretty smooth, but it's actually coming towards Seminole Pratt where we're seeing a lot of the splitting and the,
That's the oldest section between the Circle and Seminole Pratt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that there's several, especially on the north side, there's several areas that are delaminating and stuff that we're going to be patching, but also we're going to need to go in and overlay.
And that's going to be doing the whole thing in those areas. The little cracks and all, that's kind of less important compared to the ones that we're not thinking at all.
right.
They'll get back to it. Yes, we are planning moving forward with maintenance on prematurely, but yeah.
Great question.
No, one other update, we've had some issues. There are individuals that are trespassing to the east, utilizing the pines that's under development and getting to the pathway to take their kids over to the school for the future connection. PBSO will be trespassing people. That is not an open site, that is not open land, that is not open to the public. It's still under construction.
Can you give us an update as to when that path will be viable?
Next school year, it will be viable.
This August?
August.
Yes.
Okay.
Because based upon the construction schedule of what I see and in talking to the major developer there, that should be finished by that point in time.
Great.
So that by the time school opens in August, we should be in good shape.
That's exciting. Just cool their jets for 2 months and
Yeah.
it'll be ready to rock and roll. Great.
But in the meantime, Please, if any residents are listening, please don't go out there because PPOSO will trespass you. Also, the part of Persimmon and River Bend that's not open is not open as well. So that's also a no trespassing area.
Okay,
So riding your golf carts or bikes and stuff, et cetera, stay out of there as well,
fair enough.
where the gates are. From the gates, from the gates east, all of that's still under construction, hasn't been turned over yet.
Well, you see all of our grass dying because everybody's taking their buggies and riding around on it on the grass and not being very respectful. It costs the district money to have to repair all that. Open off on the sides of the roads in these muddy areas. We have all these signs that say, don't pull off. And right past it, they'll pull off and just.
Right.
So it's an ongoing battle trying to keep people where they need to be. Stay on the path, it's great. And it'll stay looking nice, but these trespass areas are an issue because they're getting back under construction underway.
Right, it's just not
They
safe.
go down there at night and, somebody will get hurt,
Yeah, there.
Understood.
an open ditch or something. Yeah.
Why did we replace the lawn along Town Center? Why did we replace?
You know, right next to the curb.
You mean at the edge of the road? There's no curve there, but they
Right.
they cut that down. With all the dirt that would have been being moved around, it built up and it made a big lip there. And they
Wooden
cut it
frame.
down, still has to do a little bit more adjusting, but they cut that down to remove that overburden. What happens, that grass quickly grows on top of it and the water won't get off the road.
Oh, okay.
But that's why the developer went through and stripped down, took care of probably 80% of it.
Thanks.
Okay, any other discussion between the parties? All right, let's open up for public comments. Madam Clerk.
Mayor, we received a public comment card from Guy Savelli, I believe is the last name, but I do not see him in the audience.
Okay,
And then we have a comment from Ms. Torres.
Ms.
Please
Torres,
state your name and address. You have 3 minutes.
know the drill.
Everybody, Alicia Torres, 5847 Whippoorwill Circle. For transparency, I write a blog called Westlake Wanderer. My first question, just as a resident, I'm kind of wondering as far as concession or a kitchen goes in the park, how feasible that would be. Ideally, I'm thinking something like Seeds Cafe, which is adorable, but if not, then just, a concession type stand that's like kind of built in for those long soccer games or whatever.
Our conversations we're gonna have in the park, like if you're gonna have a big game or what they call it, tournaments. So the way we're gonna do the park in between the two entrances is we're gonna have you seen how it's set up right over here for the food trucks?
Yeah.
Water and electric, we're gonna have that all the way down through there, 20-ish,
I think 24.
24 sites. Yes, so we're having a big event. Well, we found that you have 20-ish over here that whenever we're having events, so we figure if we put in 24, that would be more than enough food trucks that could show up. So if you're having an event, a scheduled event, you should be able to call and schedule a food truck to come out to cater that. We had discussions on at some point after this first park piece of a city / community center park.
Yes.
Community.
Building.
Community city building, city use community. And in that, if we built that, Ken had mentioned that it'd be good to have a kitchen. So if you rented it out for events or had something going, they could have a kitchen there for big events.
Okay.
But as far as building something just like an outdoor kitchen, we want to let vendors handle that.
Okay. That kind of leads to my next question. There was talk about putting City Hall, I believe, on this site early on, and I'm just wondering where that got moved to.
That's the community center.
That would be the community center. It would double as city hall, council chambers, and multipurpose for city park. In other words, build one building that covers most of the functions that are needed. Yes, part of it could be rented out as well.
And that is, I didn't see it on the.
It's on, actually, in the, if you look at the last page, It's on the right-hand side.
It shows 100 by 70 feet.
It's 100 by 70. It's roughly, right now, it's scheduled to be about a 7,000 square foot building. If it's single story, if you're two-story, it's about 14,000 square feet. So there's flexibility within the footprint. It would need up more land, but you could double your space depending on what you designed.
And then somebody was asking about, I'm not gonna run outside, but somebody was asking about that. So I wondered, is that kind of just the multimodal pathway for runners? In the park, as far as the running goes?
There's a path that goes all the way around the perimeter of the park.
Okay. And I saw that in places it's 6 feet and in some places it's 8 feet. Is there a reason?
No, it shouldn't be. It should be 8 all the way around.
We'll look at that.
It should be 8 all the way around. If not, it's bigger.
Just to clarify, also the fitness path, is that just 1 mile from end to end? Does anybody know?
It's about a mile from end to end.
Okay. Any update on that?
Right now.
And why don't you take this question?
There's some final details that have to be finished on the park before it's turned over to Seminole Improvement District. Once it's turned over, then we'll announce the opening.
And then last question, very early on in the establishment of the city of Westlake, there was talk about the lakes being recreational and also there being horse trails. This is like 2013. But anyway, so people are still asking now about horse transportation through the city. Yachting.
I don't recall that ever being.
I never heard that.
There was some initial discussions from the county about the main road having that horse trail scenario. But that kind of, as it finalized and was finally approved, that was not part of it. And then when the city became the city, we never included it in our comprehensive master plan.
No horse trails.
Thanks, everybody.
Welcome. Thank you. Any other public comment, Madam Clerk?
I have no additional public comment cards, Mayor.
Well, if there's no further.
There is.
Oh, of course.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Dombrowski.
City engineer. Just wanted to let everyone know that the TPA is holding a walk safety audit.
Oh,
Thursday morning.
Thursday, it's at 7 a.m. We're meeting at City Hall. The reason we're doing it so early is because we want to
7
see, we want to see the high schoolers crossing the street.
Correct.
And we're looking at the smaller sidewalk, that older one that was here before. See if there's any improvements that could be made. So if anyone has concerns over that area, this is your time to be heard by the kind of.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. I was supposed to mention.
Thank you, Suzanne.
I'm tired. Great. Any other comments from anyone?
It's Thursday morning, 7 a.m.
Thursday morning, 7 a.m.
This Thursday.
From where to where? I thought you said City Hall.
Yes. The 4001,
We don't have City Hall anymore.
well, 4001 Seminole Pratt. What they're doing is they're looking between where
The
Saddle
building
Bay.
formerly known as City Hall?
Yes, we're just north of the 7-Eleven
City office.
to
No, no, not
south,
the office.
south
Is
of
it
the
the
school.
offices or where we used to have meetings?
The city office.
The city
Oh,
offices.
okay.
City office.
The city, yeah, so the
City
city offices.
So right there, that stretch between where the park is going to be and where the buses go in on the north side of the school, both sides of the road there is what they're
Great.
looking at. Because again, on the west side, it's an old, small, broken down asphalt path. On the east side, there's some other stuff, but they're looking at that. And then potentially with county or TPA funding, potentially getting that renovated for us to a multimodal path size.
Yeah, I circled that whole area as a
Yeah.
potential project for us.
So we'll start there, we'll walk north, across the street, and then.
Great.
Is
Love
the flyer on the?
Yes.
You get an MOT. You get an MOT for.
The TPA is bringing vests for people that do not have. But we will follow the pedestrian signal.
What time does the walk start? We're meeting at 7. Oh, meet and start at 7. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they expect it to take about an hour.
Perfect. Thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah, thank you so much. Please state your name and address for the record, and we got 3 minutes.
Lisa Gonzalez, 5680 Opal Drive. What is the building going behind the Publix?
Oh, James Business Center.
Yeah.
James
The
Business.
large tilt wall building?
Gotcha. It's business. Are there any intentions for any big box stores coming in?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Don't know yet.
To be determined. And that's all
any restaurants
absolutely.
in the near future?
There's nothing that's been submitted, nothing on the plate as of this time. Are there interested parties? Yes. Is the major landowner talking to people on a consistent basis? Yes. Has the market changed significantly for sit-down restaurants? Yes. So the market is in turmoil right now on a lot of these things. But I received a call on Monday from somebody that was on Coffee with the Manager that's a developer that's interested in bringing more commercial. So I've fed him up.
A breakfast.
Those kind of things are out there, but
You
again,
have to
it's,
understand, the land's for sale, right?
Right.
Anybody-
Nobody, you're saying nobody is interested.
Yeah,
in
we're
buying
not
it
yet, we're open for business. We're inviting everybody and on a daily
We're not getting
basis.
looks. We're not getting.
Well,
Well, we are. It's
Yeah.
just, it all takes time. It does. It's a massive investment for especially a diner, at close to $1 million an acre or whatever it is.
Right.
And then they have the construction costs and so on and so forth. So it's not like we don't want these
and
businesses.
We have the
It's-
small places coming in, which will be open here really
You
quick.
mean the Taco Bell? and
Yeah,
KFC.
get a family.
Great. I think that's
Right.
phenomenal,
It's a
but
small-
I just would love a local restaurant. that I
We
would-
all, we all.
We're all with you on that.
trust me.
We all want it.
I wish I could do that, because I miss going to breakfast conveniently.
Right.
The
But
window,
that's all, I just wanted to know.
Yeah.
the window supervisor has a couple of restaurants in there that are pretty
You
decent.
know, they're not breakfast though, unless I want the espresso coffee, which is great. There's nothing wrong with, unless.
No one wants to stop that
I
fast.
don't want to go to Butterfield's 25 minutes away all the time.
Yeah.
And what about the town center? When do they start up with the
The
restaurant?
land's for sale.
Again, market
Oh,
conditions.
Somebody
Oh,
has
so
to,
that's
developer,
like once again.
It's all the developer.
Thanks for.
It- Just as a little extra follow-up, it took over 3.5 years for Publix to finally get done. So depending on the corporations and who you're dealing with, it's a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years out. So somebody they may be talking to now, they may not close on the land for 2 to 3 years.
We're still looking at.
Yeah. So, but yes, there's a long horizon. And one of the things that I do is once a submission is made to the city, it is public record. I do reveal that on my coffee with the managers once a month about what's coming in. I inform the council when something's coming in, once it's a public record. Before it's public record, it could be anything.
can't be talked about.
And we're
Nor do
getting
we
more attention because they're looking for rooftops. I mean, all these, if you're gonna build a restaurant, a freestanding building, have that commitment, they want to see the people. And we're getting closer to people. Well, but it's not there yet. I mean, we're
Closer.
closer now, 4,000.
Right, we have
3,800,
No, 2,500 right now.
20,
2,600.
2,500.
residents, almost 5,000 residents,
It's like 4,000 something, so.
2,500 COs.
Thank you for
It's
addressing.
all,
Because I only see it when I'm on the site, so I'm like, I'm here, let me.
yeah, it's all coming. Just, it's a big algorithm that these companies use to decide. It's outside traffic coming in, which, we accomplished with the church and we accomplished with some of these other things, plus the amount of rooftops. And at some point it becomes a green instead of a red. And then they pull the trigger and then that takes.
Then Lennar is gonna be building right next to the Publix. Is that their pad over there?
Who?
Is Lennar coming?
No,
Where?
No,
Publix?
Lennar's not coming to the city at all.
no, that's
That's
to
not a
the
thing.
north of the Publix is Planet Fitness and
Phase
the
two.
other 9 bays for Publix.
Okay.
So that's the north half. Yeah, just to the north, just to the north where you see the construction going on.
Just to the
right now. There, and then on one of the out parcels, Fifth Third Bank is coming. And then on the furthest north parcel in Publix, which is at the corner of Seminole Pratt and Town Center Parkway South, there's a tire store that's coming in.
You're talking about a piece to the north of Town Center Parkway South.
Right.
And that's gonna be all commercial.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
What they say, stay tuned.
Yep. Stay tuned. Thank you. Any other public comments? All right, let's adjourn. 5:32 PM. What time's the next meeting?